Here at Kitchen Farm, it has been the sounds and noises coming from the wood and the appearance of structures that made me realise that something was changing in the landscape. I question this lack of transparency and mutuality, and am curious as to why it has taken 4 years to make the necessary applications. I have an uneasy feeling that an improved change of use could become a fully fledged commercial leisure operation offering other activities. Instead of granting a full permanent change of use, is there a way to look at applying a change of use on an annual licensed basis? I feel very uncomfortable that this change of use could become open to misuse. If this committee chooses to approve this application, I would want the following assurances in place: that the camping would be limited to tents only in the field that is currently proposed and nowhere else on the 21 hectares at Harwees, that the camping is not for public use, that the new wooden cabin be exclusively for teaching and workshops and not become a bunkhouse for overnight accommodation, that regular environmental impact assessments be carried out on the woodland to assess the impact of the Harwees CIC projects on the habitat, that there would be no zip lines in the woodland, and that there would be a separate assessment as to whether firemaking would be allowed in the woodland, and that absolutely no other organisations or agencies be allowed to use the land and facilities for any type of experience, retreat, camping, creative courses or outdoor days. If the committee decides this venue is unsuitable, Coldwell Activity Centre near Trawden could be used by the CIC as a venue for their activities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I move on to Tracy?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, David. I'm a trustee of 2 UK charities that cover similar interests to Harwees. So I want to be clear that I'm not against what Gillian and her team are trying to do. My concern is that a CIC is a community interest company, and my disappointment has been that there has been no communication with any of the stakeholders in the neighbouring community. We are part of the community that a community interest company needs to consider as a stakeholder. In addition to that, a pledge that a CIC makes, acting as a non-profit, is to make sure that it does not do anything illegally. I have a concern. I actually don't know whether doing things and applying retrospectively for planning is illegal. But I think when we are running NGOs and charities, there's a really big onus to make sure that we are really leading by example. So my concern is, why is it all be done retrospectively? Why has the community of neighbours not been included and consulted, including the neighbour at Harden Clough, who has their spring coming off the very land that toilets are being proposed to be put on, and buildings have been put up right next to their boundary wall without any consultation. These people are over 70 and they've lived here for 40 years, and I think they actually deserve to be considered as a stakeholder and to be communicated with respect and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And can I move on to Amelia? Amelia?
Evening. Hello. I am Amelia Bowker, and I own the riding school at Jerusalem Farm and have many concerns relating to the proposed change of the use for Harwees. The traffic increase is a concern for the safety of the riding school children who walk along the access track circa 100 yards unescorted. Notwithstanding that, the applicant is proposing to divert all traffic through the farmyard on weekends. This is our busiest time of the week for hosting 30 children coming to and from the riding school each day. This proposal is not in compliance with policies WRK5, SDP 2 and ENV4, because Harwees Farm is in a very remote area and is not sustainable because access via public transport walking and cycling is not feasible whatsoever. The applicants are proposing for 2 groups per day to arrive via pre-booked access by minibus, which their planning officer describes as not enforceable. I note that the applicant makes no reference to the staff and volunteers associated with the business activities, who would also need to rely on vehicular movements. Evident from the business's confirmation statement on Companies House, Harweys Farm employ 2 staff and have 4 volunteers for Harweys Kick alone, in addition to the 2 additional businesses which are run from Harweys. It appears the applicants are playing down their scale of business plan. There are 4 additional businesses within 6-mile radius which are suitable for Harweys Kick customers. These businesses are already operating and offering the same service proposed by Harweys Kick. Considering the locality of these businesses to Harweys Farm, serving the same purpose, why is there a requirement for this additional service in a location which is described by the planning officer as not a sustainable location for education and tourism uses? A letter was issued to the Council's head of legal this morning, identifying unlawful actions proposed by the applicant. Firstly, the traffic management proposal relies on the use of a traffic marshal to be positioned at the gate, who will wait for traffic and confirm that the road is clear. This would be forbidden because a right-of-way should not be used for, and I quote, lingering or loitering on the right-of-way or using the same for any purpose other than passing along at reasonable speed. I can confirm that on some occasions a Harweys member of staff has waited at the gate over the last week for 10 minutes or more. The gate is positioned directly next to the gable end of the farmhouse. I ask the committee members to consider, how would you feel if a traffic marshal was stood in your backyard? This would fall under residential amenity for planning consideration. Secondly, the applicant proposes to wait at the widened access of Jerusalem Farm. This is yet another unlawful proposal, given this would be trespass without the landowner's consent. Notwithstanding that, we created a widened access to the farm initially because Skipton Old Road is a busy main road, and visitors to the riding school need to access the track easily and quickly. How is the measure proposed by the applicant appropriate in any way, considering the widened access would be reduced due to the stationary vehicle at the main access point being proposed? I would encourage the committee to refuse the application on the grounds of children's safety of the riding school, enforceability of unlawful conditions which are being proposed by the applicant, and the scalability of the Harweys Kick business, thus increasing future use of the access track if the business was and the property was to be sold on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Sarah.
Hello. Approval of this application would set a precedent and undermine both national and local planning guidance designed to protect the rural landscape in accordance with policy ENV1. Allowing any exception for non-agricultural interests opens the door to all sorts of future applications by people seeking reasons to circumvent existing guidance and justify new development on agricultural land, thus damaging the green belt. Our ancient woodland has been growing and undisturbed for hundreds of years and cannot be replaced. If the site is to be granted for non-agricultural development, there is less chance of protection of the land from any further change of use. In the longer term, particularly if Hawes was to be sold in the future. The applicant has previously hosted events such as Gig in a Barn, which is a ticketed music festival, where visitors are encouraged to bring tents, caravans, motorhomes and camper vans. The applicant has also hosted other events such as Do Something Different. This is a 2-night camping experience for which the applicant's social media blog advertises water sports, camping, cooking, music, and suggests that customers might even find a zip wire in the wood. Here are just a few examples which demonstrate the applicant's interest and intention for business growth. This would easily be attained should planning be granted across 22 hectares. The floodgates would be open for business expansion. Paragraph 170E of NPPF states that planning policies and decisions should prevent new and existing development from contributing to or being adversely affected by unacceptable levels of noise pollution. We live on the boundary line of the woodland, and since the launch of Hawes Kick, we have suffered unwanted neighbourhood noise intrusion that adversely impacts our quality of life, since we chose to live in the countryside for peace and tranquility. If planning is granted for camping in the woodland, that would mean a 24-hour annoyance and disturbance of sleep. The current neighbourhood noise generated by Harweys consists of bongo drums, shouting, laughing, screeching, and music generated by clients of Harwee's Cake, who are invading the ancient woodland. Given the woodland is situated in a basin-shaped valley that takes on the characteristics of an amphitheatre, the noise is amplified tenfold and is akin to that of an urban school playground. Not to mention this is a retrospective application where the groundwork started on the track in August 2019 during the bird nesting season, resulting in disturbance and demonstrating the application's disregard for wildlife and planning compliance. As stated in the report, the PBC environmental officers implied that whilst the track itself may not damage the biodiversity of the woodland to any great extent, its intended use for educational groups would do so through disturbance. Essentially, it will encourage people to enter a habitat that has had very little disturbance in the past. Do the benefits of this proposal outweigh the need to safeguard the nature conservation of the site? The PBC environmental officer was also keen to understand the impacts of the track of the hydrology on the moorland due to the water runoff, which has not been adequately addressed within the documents. In addition, the Ecology Report has not considered the mosaic of priority of habitat within the adjoining site. Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Whitby, mute.
Chairman, you're on mute.
Well, there you go. You know, I won't be able to pull anybody else's leg now, rest at meeting. Yes, can I thank all speakers for sticking to time. I'm now going to move on to the three speakers in favour of the applications, and the first person that I've got is Kirsty. Kirsty?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Thank you, yes. Time starting now.
Okay. I just want to tell everybody about the impact that Harwee's farm has had on the young people that we work with. So we've been working with Jill for a number of years now, and working with ages 5 to 16-year-old pupils that attend the alternative school. This is not only the alternative school in Barnoldswick, but this is our other schools as well. And the young people we work with are the young people that have been excluded from mainstream schools, pupil referral units. They're the ones that usually aren't allowed out on school trips. They don't get the opportunity to be outdoors. They suffer a lot of trauma and difficult backgrounds. And often the visit to the farm and the work with Jill is the first time that they have ever been in that kind of environment. It is the first time that they have ever met sheep. They've had the opportunity to feed sheep. It's the first time they've been in a nice welcoming kitchen and had hot chocolate made for them. The impact that Jill is having on over 250 pupils now is absolutely mind-blowing for us. Activities that Jill has organised and provided us with are things like conservation activities, planting trees, teaching pupils all about conservation, growing vegetables. Most of our pupils have no idea that you can grow your own vegetables. Recycling projects, animal care, learning how to look after the sheep, the chickens, how to feed them, how to worm them, and that's always a favourite activity. Science lessons using the wind turbine and the biomass boiler. Music, outdoor music, a photography project which was really successful, cooking indoors and cooking outdoors using fresh vegetables, foraging and making homemade jam, and inviting parents up, a couple of parents, to see what their children have been achieving. So for us, the farm is not somewhere just to go, but it's something that improves well-being for pupils and staff and families, and we're really hoping that we can find a way through this so that we encourage more of this type of work. The other activities that we do, that we link in, are the Duke of Edinburgh activities and volunteering for Jill. We link this into science AQAs, into BTECs, maths and English, and all sorts of different qualifications. So the education that we run with Jill is from usually around 9:30 till 3 o'clock in the daytime. accessed with a minibus. And if I can just read something out to you that one of my head teachers wrote about the provision that they use on a regular basis. Harvey's Farm and Forest School plays a vital role in the education and integration of our primary school children. In addition to having a beautiful and calming learning environment where children can explore nature, learn new skills, manage risks, and investigate, they also have countless opportunities to work on skills and knowledge that they have gaps in their development. That's the big difference for us with Jill and Harvey's Farm. It is pupil-led and they are allowed to investigate and lead the sessions. We're a school that work with children who have been excluded from one or more educational settings and are at risk of being excluded from others. All of the children have social, emotional, behavioural challenges and areas of extra need. The farm plays a pivotal role in helping us to plan for and educate in the areas of personal, social and emotional development and growth. All key areas that will ensure the children can progress on and be successful in life. It is these key areas that are much harder to teach in a classroom, and we are very thankful for the opportunity to work with the farm to ensure success for our children. Not only do our children progress in areas that are more challenging to plan for in the classroom, but 80% of our children have stated that it is the highlight of their learning week. This helps us to keep the children motivated, engaged, and provide something for them to work towards. So as I said, it's not just an education site, and we have tried lots of other education providers over the years. We've been going 15 years now. This is 20 years in this type of work for me. And Jill is the only provision that we have found that lets children explore and lets pupils lead the session. So for me, I am wholly for this project and in support of what Jill is offering. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And can I then move on to Alison, please?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you in this way. I'm Canon Alison Ashworth-Taylor, and I've been in primary teaching now for 35 years. Up until last year, I'd been a head teacher of various primary schools for nearly 21 years, and I now work independently as a consultant for school leaders. So why am I speaking to you today? Well, throughout my 35 years in the profession, I've been absolutely committed to ensuring that all children have opportunities to learn and study in the outdoors. I'm so passionate and probably evangelical about the benefits, which I've spent so much time professionally researching over the years. You'll probably know that research shows that people benefit from outdoor learning in all areas of life. It provides a highly effective way of addressing some of society's key challenges, some of which you've been talking about tonight. So at that global level, fostering that connection that leads to respect and care for the natural world, an appreciation of biodiversity and sustainability and those pro-environmental behaviours. At that society level, developing that sense of place and leading to that greater engagement with the community and an appreciation of the opportunities available to live, learn and work in that local area. Also providing that safe and supportive setting to enhance social skills, appreciate and value difference, encourage those loving and meaningful relationships across generations that foster tolerance, respect and kindness. We need this certainly at the moment. And also that engagement with nature and the environment for health, well-being and nature connection, leading to that lifelong participation and outdoor competence, developing character, resilience and that positive risk-taking. I don't want to patronise members, as the research is there for you all to see, but I could share so many personal anecdotes of the sheer power of learning outside. Children and young people who had literally opted out of learning in the classroom in its traditional form, but whose life chances have been literally transformed because of outdoor learning. Not every child lives in a home where parents teach them the values and importance of their role in society and in maintaining the global and local environment. Not every child lives in the country. I've always believed that every child, and I still do, has a unique gift and talent, and it's our job as educators to discover it. I've seen children literally transformed by learning outdoors. I've also seen adults' perceptions of them transformed by how they present themselves. and I've always felt humbled about the opportunities presented to me over the years to help current and future generations. I am sure that you've had many opportunities in your roles and offices as and counsellors to transform the life chances of young people, some of whom you've probably been speaking about earlier tonight. Not just for now, but for the future. I actually think you have this today. This planning application has the power to effect change, not just on the now, but also the future. What a heavy responsibility, but truly vital role you have tonight. I plead with you to consider the true value of this awe-inspiring impact that this work has had and could have in the future. Please work with the applicant to overcome any barriers, and please make this happen, for this is a uniquely exciting opportunity for those in your area who you seek to serve. I'm certainly proud to have been one of the original directors and now a volunteer advisor of and for the CIC, which I believe has it at its heart the offer of a unique opportunity for visitors to get back to nature, to discover the beauty of the countryside and to recover that sense of self that so many have lost, and to find ways of creative expression. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And finally, is to Jill, or is it Gillian?
It's Jill.
Jill.
Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. In response to some of the sort of concerns that have been raised tonight, a lot of those I'd no idea about. They weren't raised during the consultation in February, and they're not insurmountable either. As I was listening to Tracy and Lavinia and other people that are my neighbours, I realised that I've been perhaps in the wrong not to get round and chat more to them. And I do want to extend that invitation for people to come up, come and have a brew, come and have a walk round the site with me. Just simply because I think the people that have been get it and are behind it. And a lot of your concerns aren't valid. So, for instance, the only thing that I want to do is share the space. I'm a youth worker by background. I'm a forest school practitioner now. So I'm working with the very hard to reach groups who Alison very rightly said don't often get these sorts of opportunities. So they're not the easiest groups, but it's the most rewarding work. I'm actually on Pendle Youth Forum, and I've got a funding application in at the moment so that we can work with some of these troubled teenagers down in Colne Town Centre and Earby and Bonaldswick, and bring them up here on mountain bikes. So we're moving and looking at some other ways of getting people up to the farm that's a lot more sustainable. I'm working with them consistently and doing some forest school and some sort of bushcraft with them as well. So I thought that was topical. The traffic management plan is our creation. It does work. 50% of the traffic does go through Great Edge Farm with the midweek minibuses. The Robinsons at Great Edge Farm are in support of our application and we don't have any issues. We've only had one incident where the traffic management plan wasn't followed and one of our exiting minibuses met with a dustbin lorry coming up from Jerusalem Farm, but it actually does work. So I'd like to say, just because it hasn't been done before, it doesn't mean that we can't do something new now that actually facilitates us to continue with this. No intentions whatsoever of developing something big like open campsite, yada, yada, yada. Never have done. The outward bounds aspect we would do through High Adventure based at Cowling because we have a connection with them. Let me just go back to what I was talking about. We've had a recent ecology report that's gone through, should have come through to councillors today, that states that there isn't any detrimental value whatsoever in what we're doing and in the track going in. In fact, it benefits biodiversity, as does woodland management. Just because a woodland hasn't been touched doesn't make it biodiverse. It's woodland management techniques that do that. We've got countryside stewardship, higher tier agreements on the land. So all of those activities are aimed at things like stopping soil erosion, water runoff. We've planted over 2,000 trees on the site. We're engaging the next generation in being careful for the environment. So it's really vitally important what we're doing, and it's something I'm really passionate about myself, and I hope that that connects with my groups. The Ecology Report is questioning whether it is a biological heritage site in designation. It isn't a very high designation anyway, but even regardless of that, we've got some unique boggy areas that we want to retain that hold tons of water. The Light Forest track that we started construction has been very kindly funded by the Heritage Fund, the National Lottery Heritage Fund, and everything that we've done adheres to Forestry Commission and Natural England. That's where we've gone to for our guidelines. So what we are doing nothing is illegal or untoward in any way. I did send out quite a bit of information to councillors before this evening, because there's not a lot you can fit in 5 minutes. So please do read the supplementary information, and if I can just again extend that invitation, please come or at least contact me and come and see the site. We can do that socially distanced really, really easily. And ask any other questions that you might have, because I'm quite sure that the concerns aren't insurmountable. Can I just, in closing, just refer to Alex Cameron's report?
Jill, can I ask you to wrap up now, please?
Yeah.
You've had your time,
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Yeah, can I just close with Alex's comment?
No, Alex's comments are in the report. We can read those.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, Mr. Watson. Neil.
Yes, so I'm just unmuting, Chairman.
That's fine.
Just very brief advice. There's a lot of emotive comments made here, and I understand that, both sides. But we are looking at the planning aspects of this, and we've got to be grounded in the planning aspects. So how laudable the activity is got to be grounded. Will issues such as the highway measures work? Now, I'm not going to go through all the comments because there's lots been made, but I'll be very clear to members. The highway process is unenforceable. You can't force people to make telephone calls, and it relies on that. So you cannot put a condition on that would be enforceable to make the highway measures work. It relies just on goodwill, Chairman. On the back of that, though, I've been up there. The roads are pretty straight. It's not a dangerous track up there. Jerusalem Forum will have to operate within safe measures with their activities, and obviously Jerusalem Forum itself got planning permission to operate in this location, so you've got to bear that in mind. Chairman, in terms of precedents, absolutely irrelevant. Whatever their intentions are or may be in future, it's got to be based on the information before you. Chairman, it's not green belt, so there's a difference between open countryside and green belt, but one of the speakers referred to green belt. It is not green belt. So the policies related to that. Chairman, just general advice, a camping and education facility there. There's no way, in my view, that is a noisy activity that could ever lead to a refusal of the planning consent there. It just is too remote, and those are too benign of activities, Chairman. Chairman, water runoff has been mentioned for the track. Obviously, we've got 2 applications here. That we are satisfied can be controlled by a condition. Just one thing from the applicant, Miss or Mrs. Taylor. I totally disagree that BHS is a lowly environmental designation. It's one below a triple SI. So it is a significant ecological designation there. So I just have to, sorry, but be blunt about that. It is a significant designation, and it has got Natural England. It's got the Wildlife Trust, Lancashire County Council, who designate these under very strict criteria. So it has got some significant ecological value. Other than that, it's for members really to take a balanced view on what they consider to be the merits, and obviously make a recommendation to P&R if you wish to. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Neil. Could I just comment that I think the planning authority is in what I sometimes call a judgment of Solomon Jobby, where there are good points being made on both sides of the argument, and it's very difficult to come to a decision based on the merits of one side or the other side, and we're not in the position of sort of cutting it down the middle, because that's clearly an area where it's a black or white decision, and so as a planning authority, I think there are merits that have been expressed by the speakers tonight in the various reports and information that we've had from all quarters, and that councillors will have to weigh all of those issues up and come to a judgment as to how best to determine this application. I have to say, the West Craven Area Committee does not have to come to that decision. The decision is going to be taken by the Policy and Resources Committee. I don't think that we should agonise over this for an extended period of time. I believe that Policy and Resources Committee members ought to have the benefit of a site visit or a virtual site visit, so they can appreciate firsthand what the position is on the ground. And I don't think that you could actually appreciate the arguments that have been advanced both against and for without doing that. I'll be absolutely honest, I haven't visited the site. I've looked on satellite images, and I've tried to understand the different aspects of this that we need to take into consideration, but I would certainly benefit from having that hands-on knowledge, difficult though it may be in current circumstances. So my suggestion to committee is that we encapsulate the arguments that have been put forward for and against the application, and that we merely pass that those views without us coming to a judgment. One or two committee members, including myself, will be on Policy and Resources, and we will have to make a decision there. And of course, I mean, it might be a split decision when it comes to Policy and Resources. If there is a refusal or refusals, then clearly the applicants have got a right of appeal, and the planning inspector from Bristol or wherever will come to a view. So there's a lot of process left to deal with this application. Could I just make one point? We did have an update that was provided to councillors, and Neil, I'm not clear that you referred to that. Maybe I missed it, but if you could just relate what that says, please.
Chairman, the update was basically about the biological importance of the site, and Lee Johnson, my environment officer, basically saying he felt that the application wouldn't be adverse, and that the hydrology could be controlled by condition. But Chairman, to be fair to both sides, I've also had a long letter of objection to this, which we haven't proceeded, but I did go back to the person who wrote it to say we will put all of those comments as relevant to the Policy and Resources Committee. I just didn't have time to proceed because we got it relatively late today, Chairman, but that was relating to the legal aspects of the use of the road, which again I'll run past our solicitor before we make comment in the final report.
Thank you very much. Right, so my suggestion is that this committee, and I can't bring anybody back in, any of the speakers, I'm sorry, that's not allowed. I'm going to bring committee members in. My suggestion is that this committee passes on the comments that have been made by the speakers tonight and invites Policy and Resources Committee to make a site visit prior to the discussions and deliberations and decisions at that committee. I've got councillors Tom Whip, Mike Goulthorpe and Rosemary Carroll. Tom.
Thank you, Chair. I'm finding it very difficult to really form any opinions without a site visit on this one. I mean, I've heard good reasons for and against. I do have just a couple of questions on the actual site. Just to confirm, this is one of the accesses, and this is the other, yeah? Is that correct? Which one is the one that's being put in?
Neil, can you advise on that, please?
Through you, Chairman, both accesses have been put in.
Right, okay.
One from Skipton Road, which is the Jerusalem Farm one, which is the one that has principally been used, and then one on Cobb Lane. Chairman, we will make reference to those because my view is Cobb Lane isn't appropriate. It is tortuous and narrow, whereas from Jerusalem Farm it is at least a straight road up to there. So, Chairman, we will make further comments on that, and Chairman, P&R can control that by condition if they feel one access is appropriate and one isn't, Chairman.
Thanks, Neil. And I looked on the satellite view here and I saw the player shooting. Presumably that access is from Cobb Lane. Do we then have a precedent here for these sorts of activities and the access?
Through you, Chairman. Through you, Chairman. Yes and no. Obviously, if there are similar scales of activity, yes, you would look at past comments, etc. But horses for courses depends on the scale and intensity of uses. Something that's putting 50 vehicles an hour up a track is different than say, and I'm not saying it's one minibus a day here, but an activity with one minibus a day. So, Chairman, yes, there have been other cases, but it depends obviously on the level of use that the activities being proposed will generate.
Thank you very much. Councillor Tom Whip, have you got any further comments or questions?
That's all for this meeting, I think. As I say, it's very difficult to form a firm opinion on this without the site visit. I think it's a very different case to what we're usually dealing with.
Thank you. Can I move on to Mike Goulthorpe?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I've got to hold my hand up as well and say I haven't had a site visit. I know the area, obviously, I've been past it not every month or so, but I do know the area with our connections with Folridge. It's without a site visit, I think we can't make many constructive comments about this application, other than the passionate speeches that have come tonight from both sides. So I think that's useful, but I think it's absolutely a necessity that we have a site visit for this before a decision could be made. I have concerns about highways and sustainability, But there again, we've heard from Neil Watson giving some information. There's quite a bit missing out of the report that came out to us. I'm also concerned with no responses from the parish councils associated with this application. So it might be useful if we could get something back from Salterford. So yes, I totally agree with your comments, Chairman, and would support doing that.
Thank you, Mike. Rosemary?
Hi, thanks, Chairman. I do have a question for Jill, if I can. I just wanted to know, are there going to be lots of children going through Kelbrook Woods, being able to have free reign of Kelbrook Woods? That's my first question. If you could answer.
I'd like to answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a forest school practitioner, I wouldn't let children just run through the woods. There's some fairly deep bog in there, and it's a bit tricky. So what I do is I take them through and I do a risk assessed, like pre-walk, and work out where I'm going to take them particularly. There is a designated site at the far side of the woodland, which is where the bell tent is, and that's the base. So sometimes we only stay there. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Because my main concern is with Kelbrook Woods, because it is ecologically very important, and I do know for a fact that it is surveyed every year, and there are wildlife in there which I can't tell you about because we're live. But I do know, I have great sympathy with what you're trying to do, but that is my main concern, that wildlife will get disturbed. And the other thing that I would say is that if this application was to go ahead, then I would recommend that you could only have access off Skipton Road, because I do know this area very well, and I do know that Cobb Lane is extremely bad. So there are my only comments on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ken, Councillor Hartley.
Thank you, Chair. Having listened to quite impassioned arguments from both sides on this, I do agree with your suggestion that we pass those comments in entirety on to Policy and Resources Committee, who are charged with making this decision. I fully support that a site visit ought to be taken before that decision in fact is made. The arguments on both sides are extremely strong, and I sit back here at the moment and quite thankful that I'm not a member of Policy and Resources who is going to be forced to make a decision on this. I apologise for that comment, Chairman. It is a very, very difficult one, and it's a decision to some degree that is going to be made in a rapidly changing environment. The fact that we're leaving the EU and the stewardship management schemes that we currently have are subject to a high degree of change, are going to mean that we're going to have to manage countryside in an awful lot of different ways than what we used to. Similarly, the climate emergency that we face and the desire to expand woodland within Pendle, particularly Lancashire in the wider sense, and the north of England in an even wider sense, is something that's going to highly influence how we look at countryside areas. And I think that it's incumbent on us to recognise that change is there, and to encourage the current stewards to work with the planning authorities in a highly detailed way to further objectives which haven't yet surfaced. So, I'd support the recommendation to pass on whatever we can on both sides of this argument impartially to the Policy and Resources Committee with a strong recommendation that they examine this in a great deal more detail than what we've currently done in the simple planning report.
Thank you very much, Ken. Neil, can I bring you back in?
Chairman, it's just a very, and probably an obvious point, Chairman, I want to make it. Chairman, we will try our level best to see the comments accurately, but anyone who's made comments, you need to be aware that you need to make your own comments in writing if you want them accurately portraying. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I was very much suggesting that we just have a gist rather than a verbatim report, although I dare say that most people were actually reading from prepared script, so it would be possible to incorporate that. I don't think Joanne will thank me for suggesting that we did that, though. Right, can I ask if there's any other committee members wishing to comment on these applications? I can't see anybody indicating, so can I take it that committee is agreed that we should pass on the comments, request Policy Resources to undertake a site visit, and were there any other points that we wanted to convey? I know Rosemary mentioned about Skipton Old Road rather than Cobb Lane, but I think that that's something that needs to be properly considered following a site visit. Are we good with that? I don't see anybody objecting, so I'll take that as the decision of the committee, and we are now going to pass on to the other reports that we have on the agenda. Can I thank all the speakers very much for coming and making the points that they have. Can I particularly thank them for sticking to time and being very, very good in your timekeeping. And given that I'll certainly be listening to some of you again, no doubt, at Policy Resources, I dare say it's all a good rehearsal for you. So thank you very, very much. Right, we are going to go on to the other items on the agenda now. If visitors want to leave us, that's great. Item 5B is planning appeals, and we have got a report. I don't think there's any discussion on this really, apart from noting it. Are we prepared to note that report?
Is now exiting.
Thank you very much. We will then pass on. Item 6, and can I apologise to the committee because I forgot at the beginning of the meeting to report that I have had a request for an urgent business item, which is in respect of flooding issues in West Craven. Councillor Tom Whip asked for an urgent item, given that it would be a matter of urgency to try and get some of those issues resolved, and if we left it to the next meeting, we could well see that action would be delayed. I have agreed to that request, and we'll take that before we go to the exclusion of press and public. So it would be item 11A. Right, back to the agenda. Item 6 is enforcement actions, and we've got the Gospel Hall and land at Unit 2 Victory Business Park, Bonaldswick. Neil, I am aware that a certificate of lawfulness has been submitted in terms of the Unit 2. Are you able to comment on that? And in terms of the enforcement action, how do we stand, please?
Chairman, we wouldn't be enforcing whilst the certificate of lawfulness was in place. I think that would be unreasonable of us to do that. Chairman, I had some discussions with the applicant, a bit of toing in a professional way, a bit of toing and froing, and I think they've got a cogent application in now. And if it turns out like I think it probably will, that should hopefully resolve the matter going forward.
Thank you very much. Can we note that report and move on? Yeah. Item 7 then is
Chair, you've muted again.
Oh, do you know, I'm so determined to mute everybody so that we don't spoil the audio, and then I go and mute myself, don't I? So item 7 is the capital programme. We do have an item to report on the capital programme in that we have a repayment of £3,000, which is from West Craven Together, and that's in respect of a project which hasn't gone forward and in current circumstances is unlikely to go forward for some considerable time, and West Craven Together are returning the funding. And the suggestion there is that £3,000 is reallocated to the town centre public realm work in Barnoldswick, and that's a subject for discussion. So can I see anybody wishing to speak on that, please? Councillor Tom Whip.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's regrettable that the funds weren't able to be spent for the project they were allocated for. Although it's understandable during the current climate why a cinema wouldn't really be the best project to start now. I think the suggestion for putting it into the public realm improvements is a good one. We've still got lots of extra things that we want to get into the square now. If it's not done now, it will never be done. One of those that I hope will be achieved is better accessibility features for limited sighted people and the blind as well, in terms of sort of studied crossing ways, and hopefully these funds could help fund that some part of the way. And on top of that, I would like to reiterate our request for LCC to match fund some of the scheme to extend the pavements surrounding the town square, as well as the ones already done.
Okay, so can I be clear? You are proposing the reallocation of the £3,000 that's been returned to the public realm works. You are expressing an aspiration that the committee include work to put studs in for crossing points for partially sighted and blind people, and thirdly that you are reiterating the request to the county council for them to match fund the work so that further pavements could be improved and made safer than they currently are. Is that correct?
It is correct, Chair, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. The next speaker I've got is Jennifer.
Yes, thank you, Chairman.
I'd like to say it's a good move, is that it's a shame that West Craven together couldn't use the money. But like yourself, I have written to, well, I've sent an email to LCC, to the departments, requesting that they do match fund the town square. I mean, there's been a lot going on, and I don't see why that people in Barnoldswick should have to fund all this when we pay rate. I mean, it's bad enough keep writing letters and emails asking for the roads to be done. But I'd like to second what young Tom Whip has proposed.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure that Tom Whip the younger is the appropriate. He's going to be crowning. He's going to be crowning me later on, you know.
Oh, never mind.
Even though he did make an excellent cheese and onion pie, which I was trying to finish off at the beginning of the meeting.
I've seen you eating it. It must have been good. Thank you, Chairman.
I could have done my second helpings, though. Marjorie, I've got you next.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to second what Tom said. I agree with what he was saying about doing the flags and everything. And it's just like I say, it's a shame that they couldn't use the money, but we can still bring it to good use. So I'd like to second it. I know Jennifer's already done it, but I'll third it then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to pass comment, I mean, the quality of the work that's being carried out has been praised in various quarters, and it is painfully slow. For last week, they were down to 2 people working on site. The COVID-19 working, the secure working, has meant that they haven't had as many people on the job as they would have liked, and obviously there was about a month's delay from unexpected requirements in terms of burying electric cables deeper than they were and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's highly likely that the work will go into December, and if there are further delays, of course, it could be beyond that. But I think people are generally very pleased with the quality. I'd certainly like to praise the patience and the skills of the workforce that are undertaking this, and the fact that they're working in now atrociously wet conditions and having to cope with swimming pools at times, which isn't the easiest of circumstances, but we are where we are. Right, so it's been moved, seconded and thirded that we reallocate the funding and the further 2 parts of the resolution. Is there anybody that's objecting to that? Marjorie, you've still got your hand raised, but I'm assuming that that's a legacy. You're not wanting to speak again. Right.
No, I'm sorry, Chairman.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
got used to this.
Thank you. Right. There's nobody speaking again, so we'll take it that is agreed. Can I ask if there's any further discussion on the capital programme? Any further comments? No. Can we note the rest of the report? Thank you very much. Item 8 is reopening of Barnoldswick and Earby town centres, and there's quite a lot of work being done in the background on this. Clearly, entering a further period of lockdown means that plans are having to change, and obviously our town centres, a lot of the businesses in our town centres are non-essential businesses. They will be required to close from Thursday for 4 weeks, and it's going to be very difficult for a lot of those concerns, often family concerns, independent traders, to get through the rest of this year, given everything that's been thrown at them previously. In terms of the support that we can give as an area committee, Councillor Tom Whip has been doing some work on an application that could help provide businesses with a delivery structure which would be above and beyond individual businesses providing a delivery service and creating a collective of businesses being able to have their goods delivered in conjunction with other businesses, and we think that will be very mutually supportive and provide residents with an excellent offering in terms of what's possible during a period of lockdown that is approaching. We're hoping that we could get that off the ground quite quickly. I suspect that people won't thank us if we start going into any great detail at this meeting, but that is being looked at as a matter of priority, and Mr. Watson will tell us that all the sort of funding requirements or agreements are in place for us to proceed when we've got firm proposals. The other aspect of this which we would like to see brought in as soon as possible, given the autumnal weather that we've got, is some temporary cover where possible on the pavements, which may be the case on Victoria Road in Earby and parts of Albert Road in Bonalswick, but it wouldn't be possible on, say, Water Street in Earby or the other shopping streets in Bonalswick because of the narrowness. Again, that's something that we'd like to see implemented as soon as ever possible. And so I wonder if committee would give their blessing to both of those aspects for urgent implementation if we can take it forward. Mike?
Am I the... yeah,
you're on.
Sorry, Chair. I was just making certain I was unmuted and not as silent as you have been. Yes, 100%. If we that is going to be an issue in one or two areas. You've already noted it in terms of doing outside and that sort of thing. Any temporary cover that is doable would provide some benefit to the shops that are still operating, and hopefully the others will reopen it sometime in December. But yeah, absolutely 100% behind that, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Jennifer and Ken. Jennifer?
Am I still on? Am I? Yeah, I'm on.
You are, yeah.
I'm giving my 100% backing on this, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken?
Thank you, Chair. I'm 100% behind the ideas that we've discussed there in terms of both the app, in terms of delivery and collection, and the temporary cover. But I'm also a little concerned that, particularly on social media, I'm seeing a lot of people looking for a government handout from whichever level of government it's going to come. But I'm not seeing a collective activity on behalf of the shopkeepers themselves. And I wonder if it is possible for this committee to send a circular letter to the individual shops and encourage them to form their own association, be it a shopkeepers association or the old Chamber of Commerce idea, resurrecting it, where they could apply a collective voice and give us some means of dialogue that means that we don't have 300 individual shopkeepers, if you like, or to talk to them, but have their own organisation which represents them, that gives us an opportunity of holding video meetings with them to discuss what what they particularly want and what they can do to help themselves. And so that we get an integrated approach to it, and a proactive approach from shopkeepers rather than just responding to a situation. It's just an idea, but I think that we ought to be encouraging them to, as it were, God helps those that helps themselves.
Thank you very much, Ken.
For want of a better phrase.
Yeah. Can we add that to the decision that we're taking this evening, and perhaps phrase it in a way that we canvass shop business owners regarding support packages and measures that could be put in place, and that we involve those and perhaps have a virtual meeting where we invite them to take that idea forward. I mean, very regrettably, a lot of those business owners are going to be idle in the next few weeks through no wish of their own, and it may well be an opportune moment to try and galvanise that cohort to improve matters for the future. I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that a lot of the people who are affected in that way, and the people who they employ, are going to be devastated by the circumstances they find themselves in, when they're going to lose a lot of trade potentially at the time of year when they would hope to be putting a bit to one side to see them through the worst months of winter. And so I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's easy for anybody, and we really have to do what we can to help people. I just regret that we're probably not in a position to help people as much as we would like in any shape or form. Does anybody else wants to speak on this item? No. So I think we've got a three-part resolution that we give our blessing to the two suggestions in terms of the app support, the temporary shelters for people to queue outside premises where possible, and thirdly, the initiative to engage with town centre businesses in both communities to take forward any further support or collective action that we can identify. Does that fairly encapsulate the discussion? Any further speakers? Can we agree on that? Anybody objecting? No. Right. Thank you very, very much. We're going to move on to item 9 now, and we have got Christine, Governor Pollard, poised, unmuted, ready to come in. Christine.
Right, yeah, I'm a bit embarrassed after all them fantastic speakers we had before. We've wrote a bit of something down about what we're looking for. Shall I read it out, yeah?
Well, don't talk us out of it, because I'm minded to approve it.
It's common knowledge that exercise is good for you, and the NHS considers it's essential to living a healthy, fulfilling life. Indeed, during lockdown, people were actively encouraged to undertake some form of exercise. It was during lockdown that Salford Parish Council received 12 requests for allotments. Some of these people had been in touch with Barwick Town Council, and they were advised to contact Salford Parish Council. A piece of land has been identified and provides an opportunity for gardening to play a role in improving mental health and well-being of our residents. Our plan is to provide raised beds for residents alongside community beds growing fruit and vegetables. This will be easy to maintain for residents who have little or no experience of growing vegetables, with support available from our lands person, herself a keen gardener. A raised bed can resolve knee, back and pain, and easy access to beds will encourage our elder residents, youngsters alike, to have an opportunity to grow their own things. Salford School have expressed an interest in having a couple of beds, learning pupils how to grow and where food comes from. We wish to encourage children to take an interest in their environment, with all age groups being able to socialise and share the experience and knowledge. We will plan to place our raised beds on the already developed piece of land where the dog training business has or is taking place, and access is available there. If successful looking forward, we would like to continue the raised beds theme on the bit of undeveloped land. That's my bit of a speech about allotments.
Thank you, Christine. You are chairman of Salford Parish Council, and you can move it, although you might want to sort of just say declare an interest and a personal interest as chairman of the parish council.
I would like to do that.
Thank you very much. I've got Councillor Tom Whip, who, with another hat on, chairs Bonalswick's allotments committee, and he may wish just to explain why the good folk of Bonalswick have rebuffed approaches from Salterforth residents. Tom.
Yes, Chair. I mean, it's been over several years now, as chair of the allotment committee. We've had Salterforth residents approach Bonalswick Town Council wanting allotments. And the problem is with them approaching us is in the tenancy agreement, they have to be a resident of Bonalswick to have a Bonalswick allotment plot. So, okay, we could, but so that's just why there's no allotments for Salterforth residents in Bonalswick, because on the tenancy agreements that they cannot hold allotment plots because they don't live in Bonalswick. I think as the Salterforth Parish Council is the allotments, I think it's a statutory duty of the parish, is it not? So I think we should do everything we can to support them, setting up some allotments for the residents, get them on the way. So I'm happy to second.
I'm not sure whether Christine actually moved it, so you're moving it or seconding it. Can I bring Rosemary in?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's a good idea. I will move that we recommend to Policy and Resources that they transfer this land to Salterforth Parish Council.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. I'm not sure whether you're seconding it or thirding it or...
I'm moving it.
Well...
Nobody's moved it.
I think it already has been, but go on. It is supported on all sides. Ken?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just a wee bit confused. And the confusion that I've got is that our agenda says that the land itself is in Kelbrook.
Kelbrook
I'm
Road.
questioning the legality of moving Kelbrook land into Salterforth for use of allotments.
I think you probably got your tongue slightly in your cheek there, Ken. It's of Kelbrook Road. I think there's an error on the agenda papers.
In that case, I really have no objection. I'm just taking it the way that it's read.
Yeah, no, it's the triangular plot of land between Kelbrook Road and the canal. The playing fields are at the wider end of the triangle, and then it narrows down to a point, and it's that area there.
So thank you, Chair, because my mind was going to the Kelbrook dog training area where we've just approved of building a bungalow there.
No. I'm sure that Kelbrook representatives would be bouncing up and down if there was a bid by Salterford to take over part of their land. The mind boggles at the prospect. So I think there's agreement on all sides. Is there anybody that's objecting? No. Of course, there may be some hurdles in the way of actually executing this. If there's an annual license in place, it may be that any decision of Policy and Resources will depend on the expiration of that license. But we'll see where we get to with that one. Okay, item 10 are outstanding items. The first one there is the large-scale redundancies. We had a substantive discussion on this at the last 2 meetings, so I'm not proposing that we do discuss this any further. In terms of the Transdev buses and the services, we have had some late information which unfortunately couldn't be circulated on the agenda. I think there's further work to be done on that in terms of getting back to some of the correspondence and bringing a report to the next meeting. Are committee members agreed with that? Does anybody object to that? No. In which case, can we move on to the urgent item, which is the consideration of flooding issues, which was asked for by Councillor Tom Whip, and he has got quite a few pictures to show. So I'm just trying to get back to the beginning of that presentation. He says confidently, and then I'll invite Councillor Tom Whip to come in. And of course, as people will recall, on Sunday night we had very heavy rainfall, flood alerts in place on local watercourses in Earby, and at 8:30 Councillor Tom Whip and myself started visiting flooding hotspots throughout West Craven and into Foldridge and into Blacko. So I'm going to ask Councillor Tom Whip to comment on this, and I've got a presentation which hopefully you should be seeing on screen now. Can you just confirm that that's the case?
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
And I'm thanking you for the correct date format.
Okay. Do you want to start talking about the flooding problems?
Yeah. So this first image is a continual problem next to the Gilbrow site, Rolls-Royce. It pools in that side of the road, even in dry conditions. And we were told it had been alleviated, but obviously it's come back with a vengeance in recent times. So it fills up there, flows over the road. We don't think this one is foul, luckily. So this one here is the first pond on Wizard. There isn't. I'm not sure if it's if this one or the other one or both don't have a drain, and it's just a wall, a retaining wall on the side of the road, and they just need to punch a hole through it, and that'd just drain down into the air. and it's just a continual problem. And I don't know why it isn't fixed really. And then this is the second lower pond. This one I know definitely doesn't have a drain. You can see there it's ponded across the entirety of the road. People go through there quite fast. It's called Wizard for a reason. And yeah, it's just very dangerous. Again, even in sort of not torrential rain situations, that left-hand side of the road does flood. There's no roadside gully there. The curb has been put in with no way for the water to drain, so it just ponds. This is the Water Street gauge. When I took this one, the water was, I could hear it hitting the roof of the bridge there. This is just next to the old library. So this is Newcote. The one on the left is earlier in the evening. The one on the right is considerably later. I think the right hand side was the highest it ever got that night. But that retaining wall there is continually a problem. I'm sure Councillor David Wick could confirm the status of the work to be due there.
Yeah, a planning application to build a parapet along here will be submitted shortly, if not already submitted, and Neil Watson might be able to advise on that. But the programme of work is anticipated to get underway in the new year, and I think the hope is that work is carried out before we have the water overtopping into this area here. These are the shipping containers with the flood defences that the EB flood wardens and Rosemary will be able to tell us more about that in due course. But there is a deployable barrier that goes on here. The sooner that there's a permanent thing in place, the better, and give a lot of people peace of mind on that.
Absolutely. This one, A56, extended across the entirety of the left-hand side of the highway, and there were a few people who had gone through it. Again, it's a continual issue. Should be something being able to be done there. This here, Church Lane, once again, and you'll see a recurring phrase here, continual issue. There was a car when we got there that had tried to gone through and was unable to start. That was towed away later that night. Salter Road, bottom of the ranch. This one, unfortunately, is, and you'll see in the next slide, a pull from a surcharging sewer. So that is unfortunately foul. When we came back later that night, there was someone from Highways who put a flooding cone at the bottom, and hopefully United Utilities has come or is coming to disinfect that.
Yeah, it's actually Yorkshire Water.
Yorkshire Water, okay. Of course, it drains that way, doesn't it? Yeah, Abbey Road. This didn't seem as bad as usual, but there was still the flood coming out from the field into the road through that gate there. Yeah, I see someone managed to get that flood sign out. Salter Flane above the Canal Bridge. This is very deep. We managed to stop a few people coming down, but Cocker Hill, this is sort of Foulridge way. I think this might have been the worst the worst road that we saw. I mean, we had a close-up picture of the gate, so we can reference how deep that is. Yeah, really bad. This is adjacent to waterwork. There was some improvement done on that drain there. I have a feeling in the leaves coming down that it's probably just a blockage that's causing that. I think a better schedule of road sweeping might be able to stop that. So given an old track here, what's happening is the water is coming out of a small stream next to the road. So it's flowing out of the stream onto the road and flowing down the road. And it's essentially just a giant river over the top there. And if it was just if that small gully on the side of the road was just sort of cleaned out a bit, and I think there's probably a culvert going under that access. If that was maybe upsized or something, that could be all avoided. And if you go there during the day, you can see the damage to the road that is continual over time, and even before this. Yeah, this is me. There's a property on. Oh, are you going back?
Sorry, there's a bit of lag. This is Manchester Road, Bonaldswick.
Yeah. This is just next to the entrance to Letcliffe Park. That is a continually blocked gully. We're not sure why, but again, even in low rainfall, that does pond there. And there is a gully underneath that. And again, there's a gully on the left-hand side too, which doesn't drain properly any time of the year. Yeah, so this is me. There's a property on Gisborne Road has flooding issues regular away. They had a pump running, but needed a second one to keep up with the flow going into the basement. And there it is on the road, just north of the property, further downstream. And the issue here is an undersized culvert going under the road. So it's actually surcharging out of the gullies further up next to the property, going into the house and then being pumped out and shoved further downstream. Wait, on the next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Braithwell Lane, I think this one's kind of unavoidable. I went through today on the way to Lancaster, and the fields either side are just lakes at the moment. I think the only thing that had solved that is raising the road up. And yeah, again, Bracewell Lane. I think the roads are just in a floodplain there.
No, I think there's an issue here. There used to be the water course is down here, so the water could get away. There's a gully here, but there's a gully here, and there used to be two separate connections down into the water course. The one at this side has been stopped up at some point, and instead the water from this side goes across to that side and then drains into the water course. But obviously that's not adequate to take all this accumulation, so the county council could open up this one here and you'd have double the capacity. You'd be able to get rid of that flood.
Bracewell Lane again, and I think it's just a gully that's not. Yeah, this is an odd lid. We're not really sure what it is, but it is surcharging. I think that's the one feeding that one in the last slide.
Yeah.
Again, continual issue. It's surcharging out of the drains onto the main road there, and that floods further down the main street. So this is outside of the Texaco Spa in Kelbrook. Open field on just over the wall there, and for some reason it's not draining into the land. Obviously this is a main road, a lot of traffic. This is adjacent to the Old Stone Trough. Now this one you can't just see on this picture, but it's a stream down the side of the A56 that's coming out of what looks like a watercourse, and there's a purposeful gap in the wall there. So that's running onto the road, running down for maybe 200 meters, and then pooling next to the Old Stone Trough. And you can see there it's sort of on the edge of overflowing into that area there over the curb. Yeah, this one's just next to the Four Elephants and Foleridge. Once again, it's directly next to the field. Working gullies would have sorted that. And this is in a 40 zone, so cars could hit that at quite a speed. Adjacent to Yellow Hole, Fellbrook, pretty deep there. It's another ongoing one. This is next to the Rolls-Royce car park and the Aldi car park. And what's happening here is it's surcharging out of the sewer, pooling in that area, and then it's flowing over the bridge over the beck, and then into the beck on the opposite side of the bridge, which is quite odd. I think that's the combined sewer. There was some improvement suggested to the freshwater drain there for the outlet into the beck, to make it suck the water through so it doesn't build up. I'm not sure where we are with that. And this one, we saw a Facebook post. Someone on Meadow Way had a build-up of water on their property.
I don't think we'll identify just where it was.
No, but it was about to overflow into another property. So we got the estrill out of the car, punched those 3 holes in, just as you estrill in the van as you do, and that sort of went away down a new channel that was dug out of the front lawn.
We were going to show you a video which is 5 minutes long, but seeing as how we've already spent about 10 minutes on this, we didn't think you'd appreciate that. What we would like committee to do is pass a resolution requesting the various agencies involved with dealing with these problems, requesting them to take urgent action to sort them out. It seems like this is a perennial problem that every year in November, area committee looks at a long list of areas, and with a very few exceptions, we come back to the same list year after year after year, and there isn't any improvement. Besides the ones that we've pictured, the ones that are affecting West Craven include the ones adjacent to the cross gates at Blacko, which then runs down the road and closes the road through to Higher Ford. And the County Council are well aware of a lot of these issues. United Utilities are aware of the issues. Yorkshire Water are aware of the problems of the surcharging on Salterworth Road at Earby, and there is no excuse why these items are not being dealt with. The really pleasing thing about the flooding hotspot visits we did on Sunday evening was that we didn't have to worry about the A56 by St Michael's in Folridge, and it was a standing joke 4 years ago that the road was flooded at Folridge. We didn't even have to give it a second thought. That has been, well, I never say sorted out, but certainly we haven't had a recurrence of those problems, so that's absolutely fantastic. Similarly, all the work that has been done at Gill Meadows means that that doesn't cause us any concern. In Earby, it's of great concern that Victoria Clough is surcharging onto Cong Road and flowing through onto Skipton Road, and it's absolutely critical that the Environment Agency deal with the constrictions and the obstructions within Victoria Clough downstream through Victoria Road, so as to enable the flow to be maximised rather than pressurising the system and then surcharging, which then threatens the properties down on Victoria Street onto Albion Road. I've got various other people wanting to comment now. My plea is that we do get effective action from the authorities. They've known about these problems for long enough. Some of it's just a case of getting some maintenance carried out. In other cases, it may require some capital works, but it is not beyond the wit of man or woman, apologise for being sexist myself, to deal with these. Where there has been action, it has been effective, and we can get rid of the flooding risk. Where there hasn't been any action, this problem persists, and we get it every year, and it's just not good enough. In order of requesting, I've got Rosemary and then Peter and then Jennifer. So can I bring Rosemary in first, please?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, we come to this every single year, and the main thing is gullies cleaning. If the gullies were cleaned properly, we wouldn't have half the problems that we've got, but nobody's listening to us. It's as if we don't matter. The only good thing I will say is that what they've done up at Marfield Farm has really helped Water Street Beck. It really has. The water was at the top of the bridge on Saturday, and it didn't come over, which was really good news. And I am absolutely now totally convinced that what they've done up at Marfield Farm has really helped that beck. As for the other beck, on Boot Street, yeah, the EA say they're going to do this wall in 2021. They haven't said when, though. Knowing the way the EA work, we'll be lucky if we get it done next December. Never mind this December. And I totally agree that we need to put as much pressure on as humanly possible for these agencies to get on with it. Stop all the talking and all the, well, I can't say it, can I? But they need to get on and get the work done, not just sit there talking about it. It's way past time.
Thank you. Peter.
Yeah, just to add on to what Rosemary has said, the biggest problem that we had on Sunday appeared to be leaves blocking the drains. Victoria Street, they started moving the cars because it was getting that deep, until I found 2 drains in a big pile of leaves, and within 5 minutes the water had gone. You know, the other aspect that we really need to look at, and I don't know who's responsible, is the culvert by the punch bowl, which the biggest problem there is it's not the standing water, it's the speed that the cars and the trucks are coming down from Wiswick. And I've been at the old lady's house, she's 80 odd, and I was stood on by her doorstep. Oh, there's a good 10 metres away, and I was being hit in the face with the spray. That's how bad the spray is there. But everything else, like you said, the surcharging, that really needs looking at from Station Yard down to New Road. But everything else, as Rosemary has said, appears to work.
Peter, can I just clarify in terms of the problems near the punch bowl? Because Tom and myself didn't observe any ponding on Sunday in that area.
There was some ponding in front of the property there.
On the opposite side of the road?
Yeah,
no.
There was pictures on Facebook later on where it was totally across the road. It was about 4 or 5 inch deep on the, as you're coming from the punch bowl into Earby on the right hand side, because it's those fields that it comes off that's right opposite the punch bowl. And apparently there's a culvert there that looks like it's blocked again. I know there was some work done, and I think it lasted one time.
Okay. Peter, so was it on Sunday that you were there and the spray was going against the property?
No. This is in the previous flood, but it's speed of the. You know, we were trying to slow vehicles on the A56 down anyway. And just one more thing, there has a letter gone out to all Susan as part of her business on Victoria Road, has had a letter from the Environment Agency about the work they're doing. But in that letter, it says they're going to shut Valley Road, the whole of Valley Road.
No, I think that might be an error. The road that is to be closed off is the side street that runs alongside the beck from the back street of Victoria Road to the front, and that's because the parapet will make the highway too narrow for vehicles. So in other words, the Boot Street car park, instead of being able to drive from Victoria Road down towards Boot Street Mill, that'll be closed off.
But apparently they're going up Valley Road as well with it. They've marked it on the map.
I'm surprised at that. I mean, I saw the map. I saw the map prior to the letters being sent out, and I didn't notice that it was going on to Valley Road. And there's no work intended on Valley Road. I think it's an error in the mapping.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, because I think that little bit that you talked about is actually Valley Road.
Okay, it's a side street, I think. Just on the leaf sweeping, Mr. Walker's Murray people were very kindly came and swept on Friday. They managed to sweep one side of Cong Road and Skipton Road in the vicinity, you know, where we're talking about the junction of Victoria Road going towards Thornton. Coming back in the other direction, the number of parked vehicles between the junctions of New Road and Victoria Street was such that they weren't able to get to any of the gullies. They weren't able to sweep any of the leaves under the cars. And the parked vehicles are causing a particular problem for that leaf sweeping exercise. But I do know from reports from residents that the mechanical sweeper did come down. Obviously, they don't deal with the gullies because that's the county council. and unfortunately, Pendle Council doesn't have control of that now. So can I move on to Jennifer?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I totally agree with everybody what's been saying now. During the first lockdown, Harry and I went down towards Bracewell for a walk and noticed that there's quite a number of blocked drains. Now, I reported those blocked drains around July it was, and we're now into November. Like we've all said along, every time this weather comes, persistent weather, rain, everything, do they come and clean the gullies out? No, they've had plenty of time. I've rung and asked for these gullies and drains to be unclear. Now, the one down Bracewell on both sides are so solid that it can't take any water. So as you're going down Betty Carbrow and all round there, that is the reason why we're getting all these waters, because your grates are full and they can't unblock them. But as I said, I shall be on the phone again tomorrow requesting that they come out with gully cleaners. But I must say that Pendle Council, when we ask them to do a drain or there's something blocking, they come out. And it's high time that we sent a strong letter from our committee to Lancashire. I mean, there's only you and me there, David. They just seem to ignore us. Well, I've got past the stage now where I'm not being ignored. I've had enough of it all. And I look around and it's people's lives we put it. Are they going to wait until somebody has a serious accident? We've no lights in Bracewell. We've no lights down at Gilbrow and these areas where it's flooded. So if a driver hits that and the aquaplane, they're going to be killed. So as I say, I totally agree with everything that everybody said, but a big thank you to Pendle Council for doing their bit.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mike? Mike, you're muted.
I'm not any longer. I'm not going to say too much because everybody else has said more than enough, I think, and covered every possible aspect. Just to say that it is a problem getting the leaves swept, and full marks to David Walker's team who've been out sweeping leaves, particularly up this part of the world. But of course, we've got more cars parked up than normal, and of course that's going to get worse in the rest of the next 4 weeks. So it is a problem getting these swept. Individuals don't do it any longer, I guess, do their fair share. But full marks to the road sweepers who've been out from Pendle. They've got as best they can, and it is not easy at the moment. And of course, the amount of leaves that's come down this weekend with the wind and everything else is going to make it twice as bad. So a plea, really. But well done, Pendle Borough.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else wanting to comment? If not, we propose a resolution which is to take these issues up with various authorities, and I'm not going to list all of those, but if committee is agreeable, I can work with Joanne to identify the relevant bodies and also the relevant locations, and some of which weren't included in Tom's presentation but have been mentioned in the meeting tonight, such as Peter at the Punch Bowl, and there are some that we haven't featured, which also we need to detail as well. Are we all agreed on that? Thank you very much. We're going to go on now to some items where we have to exclude press and public, and this is because of the GDPR requirements, and for us not to divulge personal information. So the next item of business is to actually move a formal resolution to exclude people. Can I thank anybody that's been watching on YouTube or will be watching on YouTube at some point in the future for your patience in sticking with us through the meeting. And I'll move the exclusion of press and public. Can I ask if that is seconded?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you very much. And we're all in agreement on that. Thank you. Joanne, can I just ask when we go offline?